Tonight, the true scope of the deadly devastation from Hurricane Ida revealed here in Louisiana. The state of emergency after Ida roared ashore as a monster, Category 4, causing catastrophic damage. 1 million people without power, including all of New Orleans. The urgent search, the National Guard rescuing residents trapped in homes by widespread flooding. The death toll from Ida rising. And stunning new images, roofs ripped off, homes flattened, buildings collapsed, entire communities cut off. In my conversation with one of the hero nurses who stayed behind at the hospital to keep dozens of newborns safe in the storm. Ida, now a tropical depression, on the move tonight. Our team fanned out here on the ground, and Al Roker with a new track. Plus, the other breaking headlines. All U.S. forces are out of Afghanistan, ending America's longest war. But there are still American citizens who have been left behind. And the new attack on the Kabul airport just as American forces were leaving. Plus the solemn homecoming for the 13 U.S. service members killed in that suicide attack. And the major move by the EU. New travel restrictions proposed for unvaccinated Americans. It comes as COVID hospitalizations in the U.S. hit alarming heights not seen since the winter surge.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. Substituting tonight and reporting from New Orleans, Tom Llamas.
Good evening, I'm Tom Llamas, in for Lester. We are coming to you tonight from an American city in crisis and a region in need of help. Hurricane Ida causing catastrophic damage. The view from above, just a glimpse of the actual pain felt on the ground. Families in Laplace, Louisiana, running from Ida's surge overnight, and today pulled from their homes in boats. Hospital staff caring for sick patients as parts of their buildings came apart. In Grand Isle, Ida's force and surge captured on camera in real time. And now a cleanup underway so people have some place to stay. And tonight you'll meet the nurse who cared for dozens of babies in a NICU unit, unable to see her own children to help infants in need of all of this as New Orleans faces a new type of disaster. No power anywhere in the city. At least 1 million still in the dark. Tonight, it could be weeks before it comes back. The death toll tonight stands at 2, but the governor warning that number will likely go up. We have a team of reporters fanned out across the region, including Al Roker. Tonight, a look at New Orleans, reeling from Ida. Tonight, desperation in Louisiana.
The storm just came, took everything.
You don't have anything left?
Took everything.
Entire communities cut off, power down, and for many, no cell signal to call for help. Officials in an urgent race to find terrified families still trapped.
It was the worst thing ever. I got my baby out, though. I wasn't going to stop until I get my baby out.
In Laplace, people rescued from their homes using high water vehicles and boats, including Donrella Brown, who is pregnant. How high was the water?
The water was to my stomach.
So your stomach, where you're carrying your baby, was underwater? What were you thinking?
I couldn't do nothing but crying.
Brown's message to officials tonight:
I'm about to be a mother of 7. I have nothing. We need help.
Others turn to social media. Tiffany Miller, also in Laplace, begging for help while trapped in her attic in the dark.
Water came in, and it came in kind of quick, so the only thing that we could do was climb in the attic.
So far, 5,000 National Guard troops have been activated. 25,000 cleanup crews from 30 states are on the way. Officials warning conditions are still very dangerous, including possible alligator-infested floodwaters. And the death toll here is likely to rise.
What I can tell you is that the last couple days have not been good for our state, and for the next several days and weeks, they will not be easy either.
The damage to the power grid alone is described as catastrophic. The entire city of New Orleans without electricity. Some outages could last for weeks. This is a massive electrical tower that collapsed during Hurricane Ida with several feeder bands all throughout New Orleans. A lot of people think this may be one of the epicenters of the city's power problems. So many tonight anxious about how long this could last. You look at this and you're thinking we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months.
Exactly. Exactly right. It's going to be a long time before they have power here again.
All of it beginning Sunday as the powerful storm made landfall. So the eye wall of Hurricane Ida is now approaching New Orleans, and we are feeling those hurricane gusts somewhere around 85 miles per hour. And the sad part is things are only going to get worse. And they did. Winds reaching more than 170 miles an hour on the coast. Power lines like these stood no chance. The rain relentless, testing the state's upgraded levees, which thankfully appeared to have held. At the height of the storm, this woman, a nurse, had to be pulled from her car. With daylight, the damage revealed roofs torn from building after building, trees down everywhere. Massive debris seen all across New Orleans streets. This boat tossed into the middle of a highway.
We know Hurricane Ida had the potential to cause massive damage, and that's exactly what we saw.
Some communities like Grand Isle along the Gulf Coast completely cut off. And tonight, with power out and communications down, it's still impossible to assess the full impact of this monster storm. You see what's happening here, and the need for help is real because several of Louisiana's cities were in Ida's path of destruction. Houma, about 60 miles southwest of where we are, saw some of the worst of it. Our Morgan Chesky is there tonight.
Tonight, this is Houma, a hurricane-beaten, wind-battered shell of a city, one of the first to suffer a direct hit from Ida.
This is the worst I've ever been through.
I'm never staying home again, I tell you that. I'm definitely going to evacuate. I'm never going to chance this again.
The storm pummeling the area with gusts topping 140 miles an hour, ripping off roofs in seconds.
We did it again. Verizon has been named America's most reliable network by RootMetrics, and our customers rated us #1 for network quality in America, according to J.D. Power, proving there's only one best network.
And leaving homes shredded. For Dale Crocker, a total loss. He spent today with his service dogs, salvaging whatever he could, recalling the moment Ida turned his home inside out.
I can't hear, but I heard that.
At nearby shelters, dozens tried to figure out what comes next.
They're going to push me homeless, me and my family, seven people in the household.
Jerome Wine and his dog Rocky rescued by police when storm surge started rushing into their home.
The water was right here on me.
They were lucky because help came. The city's police chief says his office couldn't immediately respond to so many of the desperate calls because sending teams out would have put them in danger. Cruisers unable to compete with debris-covered roads.
We had a lot of calls for rescues.
What do you tell them?
I can't save you if I can't save myself first.
Ida leaving nothing untouched. Even a power plant specially built to withstand a Category 4 hurricane, no match for the storm, knocking out Houma's power. At Chabert Medical Center, a delicate but urgent race against time. When Ida tore off part of its roof, staff scrambled to protect ICU patients.
And I could actually feel the building swaying.
Today, ambulances stretched around the building, rushing one patient after another to clinics and hospitals that still had room.
And tonight, despite the damage, there is some good news. The hospital telling me they were able to move every single patient that needed care. The focus now, making critical repairs here before another potential hurricane moves in. Tom?
That is a bit of good news about those patients there. Morgan, thank you. And there is growing desperation tonight in Grand Isle, a community on one of Louisiana's barrier islands. As we mentioned, it's now completely cut off by widespread flooding and damage. Miguel Almaguer has the latest.
Those who stayed feared they would die. The communities of Grand Isle, Golden Meadow, and Matthews taking a direct and unforgiving hit from Ida. Dozens called for help to get out, but no one could make it in. Josh Welch rode out the hurricane on his barge in Grand Isle.
It's like being in a blizzard. You couldn't really see around you at times. I wouldn't want to go through it again, that's for sure.
Those who survived the impact are now struggling to escape the aftermath. Emergency teams can't make rescues and can barely make phone calls to get word out on local radio.
Grand Isle got hammered probably harder than they've ever been hammered before.
The road to rescue perhaps as dangerous as the choice to stay behind. Highways and back roads across Louisiana are a minefield of downed trees and power lines.
I had to get them to come rescue me from my house to get out.
And you're out here trying to open these roads.
Right, that's how bad it is.
This is where the only road to Grand Isle ends. It's still under several feet of water, and just behind me, broken into pieces. It's in the community down this road here where neighbors were said to be on the rooftops waiting for help.
7 miles long, Grand Isle is and now was the only inhabited barrier island in Louisiana. 1,500 live here. These before and after satellite images, perhaps our clearest view of what's been lost.
I think that the first reconnaissance is going to be by air because there's so much water there, we're not going to be able to get in.
Tonight, trying to find what's out of reach, as what comes into view is what no one wants to see.
Miguel Almaguer now joins us near Grand Isle. Miguel, I understand, like many others across this region who can't make it out any further, neither can you and your team. What challenges are responders up against?
Well, Tom, let me show you what they're up against. Just yesterday, this was a small community. There were 4 homes behind me that were hurricane ready. Today, only 1 is left standing, and the roads that lead here not only have buckled, many of them have washed away. Tom?
Grand Isle absolutely ravaged by Hurricane Ida. Miguel, our thanks to you and your team. Please stay safe. Now, Ida remains on the move tonight across Mississippi, now as a tropical depression bringing heavy rain and the threat of more flooding. Ron Allen is in Jackson tonight for us. Ron, this is far from over. What are residents bracing for there in Mississippi?
Tom, the drenching rains that continue to fall here have been Mississippi's biggest problems all day. Much more rain than expected. There's concerns about flooding, high waters. There are some tornado warnings out there as well. There are trees and power lines down. As many as 135,000 dwellings without power, a number that may rise. There are also tens of thousands of evacuees here. Many who we've been speaking to are saying that they're trying to extend their stays at hotels or make other arrangements because they're being told it's not safe enough to go back home just yet, and it may not be for some time. Officials here are urging everyone to shelter in place, stay safe, stay inside, stay off the roads until the storm has completely passed. Tom?
Ron Allen, our thanks to you. And as Ida moves further inland, nearly 80 million people are now under flash flood alerts. Al Roker is tracking it all. Al, what are you watching tonight?
We're watching for the rain, Tom, because this thing is going to be moving into very saturated ground in certain areas. And so Ida, as it moves to the north-northeast, it continues to track at a fairly good clip, moving north-northeast 9 miles per hour, 35-mile-per-hour winds. It is going to bring heavy rain stretching starting tonight on into tomorrow, into the mid-Atlantic states, into the northeast by Thursday, and then finally out to sea. But when it does, it is leaving in its path quite a bit of rain. Flash flood watches and warnings stretching from the Gulf Coast into the Northeast for 78 million people. Rainfall amounts anywhere from 2 to 3 inches, but locally we could see upwards of 6 inches of rain or over saturated soil. That is going to mean a lot of flooding for a lot of folks, Tom, stretching from the Gulf all the way into the Northeast.
Al Roker, who has been covering this storm with us from the get-go. Al, thank you. In just 60 seconds, that other major headline tonight, after 20 years, America's longest war coming to an end. But what happens to the Americans who didn't get out of Afghanistan? Stay with us. And tonight, America's longest war is over. The final evacuation flight left Kabul, followed by the last of U.S. troops. But many American citizens remain behind. Richard Engel has the breaking details.
The United States ended its 20-year war in Afghanistan today with the conclusion of the largest non-combatant airlift in American history.
I'm here to announce the completion of our withdrawal from Afghanistan and the end of the military mission.
123,000 people flown out of the now Taliban-controlled country. The Taliban firing barrages of celebratory gunfire after the last aircraft departed. But not all Americans were able to get out.
The citizens that were not brought out number in the low, very low hundreds. I believe that we're going to be able to get those people out.
It's been 2 decades of military deployments. 2,461 Americans killed. 1,144 NATO allies killed. More than 48,000 Afghans killed. 300,000 Afghan soldiers trained only to collapse when confronted. About $1 trillion spent and more to come to care for the wounded. Afghanistan handed back to the very same Islamic fundamentalists the United States drove from power just weeks after 9/11. A generation of Afghans raised with expectations of freedom and fundamental rights under an umbrella of American protection. It all ended today. ISIS taking parting shots, hoping to etch their dark name in history. firing rockets at the airport to no effect. The U.S. firing back, the military says, against an ISIS car bomb. Afghans say 10 civilians were killed. A war once called Operation Enduring Freedom, proving to be neither enduring nor leaving a legacy of freedom.
Americans still in Kabul are being advised to lay low, shelter in place, as diplomatic efforts will continue to evacuate them through the civilian airport once it reopens. Tom?
Richard Engel with this tough chapter in American history. 11 Marines, a sailor, and an Army soldier were the last American service members killed in the war. Peter Alexander now has a look at the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Corporal Humberto A. Sanchez!
Behind every name is a story and a family in grief.
If there's more Nicoles, there'd be a much better world.
Just days before her death, Sergeant Nicole G. wrote, "I love my job," posting this poignant picture of her cradling an Afghan baby. For Nicole's dad, she'll always be his little girl.
I want the world to know that she's my hero. She's a warrior. She's very compassionate. She's very caring, loving.
20-year-old Marine Corporal Dylan Marola, his mom says, was one of the best kids ever. Just an infant when U.S. troops first arrived in Afghanistan. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Noss's wife says her husband would have no regrets.
For him, it is the ultimate honor he could give back to his country and to help those people.
These service members now home, their sacrifice honored in cities and towns across a grateful nation, including Marine Corporals Deegan Page and Humberto Sanchez, Lance Corporals David Espinoza and Kareem Nakui, Navy Corpsman Maxton Soviak. Marine Sergeant Yohani Rosario was from Massachusetts.
We will always remember her as the hero that she is.
The town of Wentzville, Missouri, remembering Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. 10 of the fallen were based at California's Camp Pendleton, like Lance Corporal Riley McCollum, set to become a new father in just 3 weeks. And Corporal Hunter Lopez, the son of sheriff's deputies.
The patriotism doesn't go by area or state. It impacts all of us.
Marine Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover's dad says he was a natural leader.
He was helping those that are less fortunate, those that can't help themselves.
The ultimate sacrifice in service of others. Peter Alexander, NBC News.
Our thanks to you, Peter. In a moment, the big headline on COVID, the new travel restrictions proposed for unvaccinated Americans.
We did it again. Verizon has been named America's most reliable network by RootMetrics, and our customers rated us #1 for network quality in America, according to J.D. Power, proving there's only one best network.
Back now with the COVID surge in America sparking dramatic moves overseas. The EU today recommending a ban on unvaccinated Americans from traveling there. Meanwhile, many American hospitals are facing a growing crisis with hospitalizations at their highest levels since the winter. Kristen Dahlgren reports.
Miss Nancy.
Tonight, hospitals being pushed to the brink, averaging 100,000 hospitalized with COVID, higher than any point since last winter when the vaccine wasn't available for most. In Oregon, the National Guard is now on hand as hospitals overflow. In Florida, where 93% of ICU beds are now full, there were over 150,000 new cases last week, a rise of over 1,000% since June.
If we really got the overwhelming majority of those 80 million people vaccinated, you would see a dramatic turnaround in the dynamics of the outbreak.
In San Diego, hospitals are now delaying some elective surgeries to help conserve critical resources. While in Texas, Michelle Pouget is seeing the toll firsthand. Her son Daniel died not of COVID, but a treatable gallstone pancreatitis. There were just no ICU beds available for the veteran.
They had called all the hospitals in Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Colorado.
By the time he got treatment, it was too late.
I just don't think people realize, how important this is. It could be your mother, your son, your daughter.
A mother's pain, a warning, as the pandemic again pushes the system beyond its limits. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News.
Our thanks to Kristen. When we come back, inspiring America, nurses keeping the youngest safe during the storm. We are coming to you from South Rampart Street tonight, and that's what the building behind me looked like before the storm, honoring jazz music, the soul of New Orleans. And now it's been struck with significant damage. As we mentioned, hospitals have also been hit. Inside, some of the quiet heroes of this crisis helping newborns weather their first storm. They were the calm during the monster storm. The nurses inside this neonatal intensive care unit at Ochsner Baptist Health Hospital in New Orleans volunteering to stay through the night with the babies who desperately needed them. The new mothers forced to evacuate. Are you proud of your team and your fellow nurses?
I am so proud. My team pulls together. Doesn't matter what's happening. They're going to make sure that the babies are taken care of and that their team members are taken care of.
We met nurse Paula Jean Simon today, who runs this unit. 39 babies, each with a NICU camera on them, so parents could still feel close to their newborns. The nurses calming lots of frazzled nerves as they looked out the window and saw a Category 4 hurricane rocking their city.
It's about trust and them feeling comfortable with the nurses and the staff that's taking care of their babies. They knew that their babies were going to be well taken care of, loved on while they couldn't be here.
Simon, a mother of 4 herself, knows what it's like to worry about her family, who she hasn't been able to see since the storm hit. She sacrificed her time and worked through the night so those new mothers could get a chance to hold their own children.
You haven't been able to talk to your kids or see your kids? What's that been like?
Stressful.
But it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah. My kids, I know, are safe. I've got great kids. The house is strong, so we're good.
And our thanks to everyone helping this region out. I'm Tom Llamas in for Lester. We thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.